This lady, for the sake of the story, I'm going to call her Mrs. D. And she was a 65-year-old nursing student. She was my classmate. She was surrounded around people that were in their 20s, mostly, and then some that might have been in their 30s. But she was by far the oldest person in the group. And she had worked doing something else for about 25 years and she had retired. So she was at her retirement age. Her husband had retired and he was a pastor at this church. So she really didn't need to go to nursing school. And in fact, he encouraged her to not put herself through that stress. And so one day, Ms. D and I was in the simulation lab working on a few things after class. And I asked her, I said, like, why are you doing this? Because it made no sense to me at that time. Like, you're retired. You should be enjoying your retirement. But why are you here having to study, having the stress of, that comes along with nursing school? Like, why? And she told me, I have more years behind me than I do in front of me. So if not now, then when? And I just shook my head. I sat back and I listened to her. And she said that one of the reasons, aside from showing her children and her grandkids that they can achieve anything, no matter what age, was she said she wanted to prove it to herself. Because being a nurse was the one thing that she always wanted to do. But she wasn't afforded that opportunity to actually become a nurse because she had to care for her kids. And of course, back then, it wasn't as easy for people to just get into nursing school. And also back then, the nurses that became nurses were mostly diploma nurses. And so she said she always had this desire to become a nurse. And she was going to do anything that it took for her to become a nurse at the age of 65. And let me tell you, Ms. D was one of the most generous, smartest people that I had ever been in a room with, aside from, like my family members and parents, but just in general. She had so much wisdom just from life. And so sometimes I would just sit back and I would just listen to her stories and the things that she would say. And Ms. D did, in fact, graduate. She was 67 when she graduated with us. Got a standing ovation because let me tell you, we went through some stuff in that program. And I remember she took her NCLEX, she passed it, but she never practiced a single day as a nurse. Never. She never had any desire to. She just wanted to prove not only to her family, but to herself that she can do it. I say all of that to say, if you are afraid to make that change, what's your alternative? Staying stuck, staying in that same position, feeling unfulfilled every single day, waking up every single day until 5 years pass, and during that whole entire time wishing that you would have done this, or wishing that you would have started doing this project or doing that, or making that change that you needed. And I also want you to think about the story I told you about Ms. D, a 65-year-old woman graduating when she's 67, being in the trenches with other nursing students at her age and not giving up on herself, no matter how long that it took her to get to the point that she wanted to get. And even knowing that she was never going to practice a single day in the career field that she chose to dedicate 2 years to. Never practicing. I want you to think about that. Ask yourself, why do you want to make the change? Is it freedom? Is it finding something that you're passionate about? Is it you wanting to feel like you're doing something that actually matter most to you? You need to get clear on why you want to go in a new direction. That has to be crystal clear in your head. And I want you to write it down, because sometimes seeing things on paper resonate with you more. So write it down. Second thing I want you to do is start small. No, do not quit your job today. And quitting your job may not even be something that's necessary. But I do want you to start carving out some time in your day or some time in your week for something that you love, to do something that you love. Maybe you want to start a side hustle, and maybe you want to start that side hustle, but it may take you a couple hours a week or so to do so. Maybe you want to learn a new skill or take an online course, but the small steps will help you kind of build the confidence that you need and kind of give you that momentum that you're going to need. The third thing I want you to do is think about what's the worst that could happen if you did make that change. Oftentimes, when we fear something, our brain gets so consumed with the fear that we can't imagine any outcome other than bad. And that's the reality. We fill our head with all of these negative thoughts of the absolute worst possible outcome. And that's what we lead with. So I want you to stop doing that. I want you to break down that fear. And I want you to start looking at that fear that you feel like you're going to have. I want you to look at that fear logically, because fear is often emotionally based. It's about how we feel. It's about not knowing. And so I want you to take a moment and look at that fear logically and ask yourself, what is the absolute worst that could happen? And you'd surprise yourself. The fourth thing I want you to do is set a date for action. I don't want you to tell yourself, well, someday I'll be able to do this, or someday I'll be able to do that. Don't do that. That's like torturing yourself, honestly. Commit to a date and then start. That's it. It can be the end of the month. It can be 2 weeks from now. It could be tomorrow. But just commit to it and then make a deadline for yourself that will force you to start. Ms. D doesn't even realize how much her perseverance and her attitude inspired not only myself, but the entire nursing class. Because the biggest regret that most people have when they get older isn't that they tried and failed. It's mostly that they never tried at all. They never took a risk. They didn't even take the leap. And now they found themselves old and wondering what could have been, or what should have been, or what could have happened. And so for me, I just don't want that to be any of you. I never want that to be you guys. And I want you to take those risks. I want you to do the thing that you have always wanted to do. I don't want you to live a life filled with regret and filled with, well, maybe someday I'll be able to do this, or maybe someday I'll be a YouTuber. Even if in these moments where I record these videos and I don't get a lot of views, I'm okay with it. In the beginning, I felt like I wouldn't be okay with it, but sitting here today, I can honestly say that I have continuously given it my best effort, and I feel like even if I'm impacting one person, it's still worth it, and I won't regret it. I never regretted it. The only regret that I can honestly say that I have is not starting sooner, not succumbing to the fear of what ifs sooner. I wish I would have just started and seen where things would have been by this point. And honestly, you deserve that. You deserve a life that excites you. You deserve a career that feels like you can help people and that's fulfilling. And you also deserve the freedom to wake up every single day and feel inspired and not completely drained before the day even gets started. You honestly deserve that. And don't let fear or your mind of feeling stuck where you are do that. Be like Ms. D. Don't be like Ms. D. If I had to tell you anything, be like Ms. D. Because Ms. D was the real deal. She understood it. And maybe she didn't even realize that she understood it, but she did. And I respect her greatly for that. I hope you enjoyed this video. If you did, please share this video, like, comment, subscribe, all the things. And I also want you to comment down below and tell me the thing that you're going to do so that you don't feel like you're stuck anymore. I appreciate you. Peace.